Yeah, just laying it all out there. So before we even get started with this, if you remember school pizza, comment down below saying, I remember, because we need to honor this time-tested and nostalgic-making dish that if you grew up in America, you probably had multiple times a month. That's cool. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, it was really just a rectangular slice of pizza, kind of. It looked like it came from a sheet pan. They just cut it with the thinnest layer of sauce, sprinkling of what I can only assume is barely real cheese, pepperoni cubes, and the least crispy crust I've ever had in my life. But it's very nostalgic. I want it. You wanted it, so let's make it. And we need to get started with our crust. Get yourself a blender or a food processor, and we will start with 1 ounce of ground pork rinds, 8 ounces of cooked chicken. You can use uncooked chicken if you really want to, but the reason why we're cooking this is so we can remove some of the moisture. If you go to cook this with raw chicken, what's going to happen is that a lot of the moisture inside of it will probably leak out. You'll be left with a very wet dough, which is something I'm just not looking to have. You'll also need 4 ounces of mozzarella cheese. This is low moisture whole milk mozzarella. Again, you don't want a bunch of moisture in this because you want it to firm up nicely, and like I said, who wants a sopping wet anything? I take that back. I can think of a couple things, but pizza dough ain't one of them. If you're doing this, you can use the shredded cheese. I just had a block, so I just broke it up, threw it in there. You're also going to need 1 egg. Bloop. You're also going to need a ½ teaspoon of floof powder. Then we're going to finish that up with about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. This is about to get pretty loud, so I'll just let you sit outside for a few minutes while I get this done. All right, how was it out there? I'm sure it was pretty nice. It's been a nice day today. So what you should be left with is rather crumbly, but what's going to happen is all the cheese inside there is going to melt together to make a cohesive crust for us. And up next, we need to get ourselves a 1/4 sheet pan. If you don't know what that means, for reference, this is a 1/4, this is a half. This is like a standard baking sheet. This is half of that. I should be able to put that in there. We'll still have half the room left. However, if you want to double the recipe, feel free to use a ½ sheet pan. I'm just going with this because I'm making these just for me. Line that with some parchment paper, and we will dump out all of this dough onto it. And you can either use gloves for this part, or you can get another piece of parchment, or you could just take your dirty ass hands and press it out. We're going to make it as even as possible, and we want it to go from edge to edge on the entire pan. All right, your crust should look something like this, you know, just evenly pressed out. And now that that's done, I'm gonna throw this in the fridge. You can leave it on the counter if you want. I'm filming, so things take a lot longer to do in real time. But I'm gonna put this in the fridge for a few minutes while we make the sauce. So I've got my pan set over medium heat. I'm gonna go ahead and add a ½ cup of heavy cream, as well as 2 ounces by weight of Philadelphia's finest cream cheese you can find. And all we're gonna do is let this reduce to combine together, because we want it to be slightly thickened. And honestly, you can stop with just the cream cheese and the heavy cream and add some salt to it if that is a sauce that is more appropriate for you. However, I'm going to add some extra things into here to make it closer to a pizza sauce. All right, now that the cream cheese has broken down, what I'm going to do is reduce the heat to low. And to this, I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt, about an 1/8 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, a ½ teaspoon of granulated garlic, a ½ teaspoon of onion powder, and finally the very optional ingredient, which is going to be 1½ tablespoons of tomato powder. Realistically, just the Italian seasoning and the garlic would make this pretty close to a pizza sauce, in my opinion, but the addition of the tomato powder will add some acidity, as well as just kind of round off the whole thing. We're going to turn the heat off. This is getting quite thick, quite fast. It's almost looking like a vodka sauce, which is nice. It kind of smells like it too. I'll give this a taste. For seasoning, oh god, that's good. I know a lot of people have issues with things like tomatoes. Don't feel like you have to add it. All right, the sauce is done and we're just about there. All we have to do now is cut up our pepperoni. So I have here a log of pepperoni. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. You can use whatever kind of pepperoni you want to. You don't even have to use pepperoni. Italian sausage would be good on here. Some seared ground beef would be good on there too. But I was able to find this log of pepperoni, so I'm going to use it. All I'm going to do is split it. I'm going to make some planks, because I want cubes. That's what I distinctly remember about this pizza. Make some sticks and dice it up. All right, now that you have your nice little cubes of little meaty pepperoni, guys, let's go ahead and pull out our crust. What we're gonna do is take it, slop it on there, and then just spread it out. Like I said, this was a very thin sauce from what I remember. And I hate to say that I was right. Trust me, I really do. I don't feel like I'm right most of the time. But I'm going to say that that was the perfect amount of sauce for what I was doing. It's almost like I've been professionally cooking for the past 11 years. Next up, we're going to take some more of our mozzarella and we're just going to shred it over the top. I've gotten to the point where I no longer like to have the bag of shredded mozzarella. Before, I didn't really think anything of it, and then, you know, I knew there was stuff like cellulose in it, but just trying to be more conscious of what I put into my body, because I did spend a long time last year not feeling so great, and I think a part of it was not caring. So I probably used about 3 ounces of that mozzarella. I'm going to take my pepperonis and just scatter them about. This is what it's looking like so far, and just the sauce alone makes me excited to finally put this thing into my mouth. So what I'm going to do is excitedly throw this into an oven at 350 degrees for just about 20 minutes. Now, this is a little more well done than I like it, but, you know, the lunch lady doesn't give a shit about what you want. They just want to make sure that you get fed. So this is what it is. I probably would have gone about 3 minutes less just to be a little less brown, but, you know, everybody's got their preferences. You know, this side's a little less brown than this side, so yeah. You know, like always, I'm going to let this cool down for roughly 5 minutes, just so you know, I don't, like, melt the teeth out of the inside of my skull. All right, my 5 agonizing minutes are up, and I've got to say, I am very excited about this thing. Take a good look at the undercarriage. Not too bad, not my style, but it is a carnivore pizza, so I can't knock it points for that. You can hold it. It's definitely got a big flop to it, which is fine. Like I said, I don't really remember this being a crispy pizza in school. Let's go ahead and give it a taste, see how we did. The sauce plus the pepperoni, those two things mixing together brings my nostalgic score to a 4. The only thing holding back that extra point to make it a 5 nostalgic is obviously going to be the crust. The crust you get from school lunch pizza was more dense, had a little bit of a chew to it, but this just has like a straight up give to it. And as for the taste, it's definitely getting a 5. The sauce alone reminds me a lot of the school lunch pizza sauce. Just a little bit of Italian seasoning, a little bit of that tomato powder. It really brought through the dried spice flavored sauce they had in school. You've probably made a carnivore pizza before, and it's a nice respite from not having pizza for a while. And if you want to feed just 2 people, like, this is a good amount to feed 2 people. I'd be full after 2 slices of this. Or you can double the recipe, use a half sheet tray, make a lot of it. I feel like you could freeze this if you really wanted to. What I would do is cool it off in the fridge, wrap it tightly in plastic, freeze it, throw it in the oven until it's warmed through, and you got lunch for the day.